Here I have a good youth body already selected. I want to make this thing quite sporty, so going to start off by selecting partial aluminum for the panel material to save some weight. Then partial monocoque for the frame, because pickup bed, and galvanized steel for the material. Engine placement is going to be front longitudinal, and double wishbone suspension for the front, and solid axle coil for the rear. Now I will quickly throw some design together, going to skip forwards to when it's done. And here it is with some fixtures on it. Think it looks appropriate for the model year I chose. I do like how the front end turned out. Doesn't look too aggressive, but still has somewhat of a sporty look to it, I would say. Then moving on to the rear. Also, don't worry about the wheel fitment. I will fix that later once I get to that section. The rear end is pretty plain, but everything I tried to add just made it look worse, so this is what I ended up with. Then the interior turned out decent, just something basic, and again, think it looks pretty correct for the model year. Did go for some sporty looking white and red gauges. That completes the door. Now let's move on to the next part. Before moving to the engine builder, I will select rear wheel drive here. For the block configuration, I will go with a V8 and cast iron for the material. The engine displacement I will make exactly 5 liters by making the bore 93 mm and stroke 92 mm. Push rods for the valve train and aluminum performance for the head design. Going to give this engine forged internals to make sure it can handle a decent amount of power. And harmonic damper for the balancing mass. These will be adjusted when tuning the engine. I'll keep this engine naturally aspirated. Then for the fuel system, I'm going with injection, multi-point EFI and single. For fuel type, I will spec unleaded super and performance mid for the intake manifold. Finally the exhaust side. Cast mid headers, high flow 3-way catalytic converter, and a single baffled muffler. Now we'll tune this engine with the goal of decent power. And here is the finished result. Was able to get that decent amount of power out of it. Otherwise, nothing special to mention really. Should be a good engine for this youth. Let's do a quick test pull at this point. And now we can move on to the next section. For the transmission, I'm going with a manual 6-speed and will give this a helical limited slip differential, radial sport compound tires on alloy rims for the wheels, vented 4-piston on the front and vented 2-piston on the rear for the brakes, semi-clad under tray. Just felt like giving this car that. This is only a 2-seater, so going to remove the rear seats here. Then the interior I would call standard. And for entertainment, I'll choose premium CD. We'll also optimize the weight at this point to be a bit lighter. Hydraulic rack and pinion for the steering, and going to give this traction control and anti-lock brakes. Feel like those would have come with a car like this in the model year I chose. And finally suspension. Since I want this to be quite sporty, I will give this progressive springs, gas monotube dampers, and passive sway bars. And of course, going to throw on the sport preset. Now we'll get to work on fixing these suggestions. And here is everything finished. Was a decent amount of work to get everything right, but was able to get rid of most of the suggestions. Was left with these. The oversteer is pretty much unavoidable with a car like this. Reducing the rear tire width would make the oversteer worse, so that's a no-go. And the engine clearance is whatever. I want my big V8. Also did fix the wheel fitment like I mentioned earlier. Looks pretty good now, if I do say so myself. Now just have to give this a name. I have no idea what to call this. Let me just look up something like river names in Australia. Okay, I do like this one. So this will be called the Paru V8. Also let me put that on the tailgate as stickers. Something more for the rear so it doesn't look so plain. With that done, I will get this exported to BMG Drive and give it a test drive. And here it is in BMG Drive. Now let's start off with a very important test. Okay, we'll call that a success. Next up, let's try some donuts here. Getting a nice 360 view of the car here. Okay, we'll call that another successful test. Okay, after those two tests, I feel confident enough in the car to take it onto the road here. Okay, start accelerating onto this straight. The car picks up speed fast thanks to the 330 horsepower V8 engine. Then heavy on the brakes for this corner, they work well. And through the corners the car handles very nicely. Okay, after driving around the car for a while, we'll say it feels good to drive. It handles well through the corners. It has enough power to play around with, and the brakes feel really good. So really got no complaints about it. A bit more about the handling. It does understeer when going too fast into a corner, like that, but that's to be expected out of any car really. And it has a bit of tendency to oversteer, as automation said, but I do like that in a car, so not really a complaint for me. Now, I did give this thing a tow hook on the rear, so I have connected a trailer up to it to see how this ute can handle that. Let's get moving then. Let's go this way. Onto the road, then put my foot down a bit to see how it accelerates with the extra weight. Still able to get going quite quickly even with the trailer attached, but already can feel that the handling is a lot more twitchy because of the trailer. Then need to remember to brake early enough for the corners, because the extra weight makes the braking distances longer. Okay, carefully through here. Quite a tight corner. Okay, then we only have one direction to go. Okay, and a uphill straight here. Really going to test the power of the engine. Still able to accelerate pretty easily up the hill here. Then into some corners. Want to be careful here. As I mentioned earlier, the handling is a lot more twitchy now because of the trailer, so have to be careful. A bit more severe corner. Pretty decently through. Okay, the trailer starting to twitch a bit. Able to keep it not too severe. And breakdown, shift the corner here. Okay, let's go this way. Okay, got a roundabout here. Let's go carefully through here and this way. Okay, starting to go downhill a bit here now. So I feel like there's about to be a massive accident at some point probably. The trailer sliding about and flip the trailer, and okay, well, that wasn't too massive of an accident. So we can still keep going if I can get the trailer turned around here somewhat. Okay, that works. Let's keep going. Okay, the steering wheel doesn't point straight anymore, but that's a small thing. Okay, some more downhill here. Feels really sketchy. Okay, bit uphill. Some kind of a crest here. Take it carefully. Going to go a bit light over the top. Then back downhill. Yeah, this seems really sketchy now. So try to be a bit more careful here. Okay, brake. Somehow managed to get through there. Oh, okay, there we go. Yeah, no. There it is. There's the massive accident. Well, the cargo is delivered somewhere there. Sure. And that concludes the test drive. Was a fun car to drive around and was even able to handle a trailer pretty well.